if you're someone who does not start without understanding the reasons why you're doing something, starting now, you see, this has nothing to do with product. This just has something to do with how you are in life.
So today we have a special guest, Vaibhav. He's a product manager working at Grab. We have been working closely with each other for more than a year now. And today Vaibhav is going to give us an overview of how his role is in Grab as a product manager and product manager in general. And Vaibhav has experiences working with people from different backgrounds, cultures. So we'd like to hear some of his thoughts and experiences on that front as well.
Hey, gotcha. Hey, everyone.
Vaibhav, so you have been working as product manager since the beginning of your career, right?
No, so that's an interesting story. So, well, I got into product management quite early. I got in 7 months into my career. So, how that happened was not intentional. I was a chemical engineering graduate, but I happened to start working at an e-commerce firm, and I was working as a business analyst. And then 6 months, 7 months in, the program that I was hired for said, hey, you can actually change your team, and it depends on your performance, right? So I think my performance was decent, and then they asked us to choose what team do you want to go to. And I realized there was only one team that gave MacBooks to people. And every other team gave like Dell laptops. I didn't like my heavy black Dell laptop. I said, okay, I'm going to go to the team that gives MacBooks to people. That team happened to be product. This company was Flipkart. Flipkart is the biggest e-commerce firm in India. Then I joined the merchant platform product team there, where I was working on payment product systems. So it just happened by chance. But then I liked it, so I continued to work in that field.
So you never thought about being a product manager before that?
No, I think it wasn't a role that was popular enough or sexy enough at that time. So
Interesting.
when I joined Flipkart, e-commerce or startup ecosystem was just beginning to take shape in India. And Flipkart was like the biggest player there. And the role that I was in, it was a more generic business role. And I thought, okay, it gives me a good overview of the company. So I got to know of product management after I joined the company, and I knew, okay, you work with engineers, you build things, and so on. But it wasn't something that I had been preparing for. It's just something I got a chance to do it, so I did it.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because you are a great product manager now. How did you build up the skills, and what other things inspire you to stay in the product manager role for this long?
I think I recognized two things quickly. One was I just like solving problems. So, I mean, on the face of it, like, I don't see product management as the function. People sort of see, oh, this is product management, this is engineering, this is business, this is strategy. I think of almost all roles as roles that enable business to function, business to either grow or carry on, right? So, and I see my role as a product manager also as that. It's just that I help business grow by doing a particular kind of role. So I like solving problems. I'm from an engineering background, and so I see product problems as, okay, here is something customers don't like, or here's something that's not working for business. How can we figure out how to solve it? And being in product also means that you have the ability to define the strategy on how to solve it using tech. And because I don't have a fully non-technical background, because I have done engineering, so I think that helped me. And in general, I realized that I was decent at letting people see a vision or letting people see a goal and get motivated to work towards it. And I think that's a very important skill for PMs. It's the same skill that you apply when you're, say, if you're captain of your football team or any other thing. And so maybe some of those past experiences, I used to lead debate teams. I used to lead football teams in high school. I used to lead some drama teams. So maybe some of those things just happen to prepare me, I guess, for
Mm.
being able to sort of lead product development in some cross-functional teams. So maybe that.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I think, as you mentioned, a certain level of leadership is very important, to be successful at a product manager role. But in terms of leadership, how do you compare the experiences in India and in Singapore?
Yeah, so there are a few differences, right? And differences arise mostly due to, say, culture of the place, and also sometimes it can be a function of people you work with, companies you work with. I think in India, in the startup space in India, a lot of work is done in a more instant manner, that okay, let's just do it, and we'll figure out how to do it. In Singapore, I saw there was a lot more focus on documentation, a lot more focus on pre-alignment and planning. So that was one. Second, I think there's more diversity of the type of people and opinions that you have. So the interesting part about working in India is, although India is a very diverse country, you will see most people who are in tech have very similar backgrounds. They did engineering, and then they are either developers or they are designers or they are product managers. Here, I was working with people who came from arts background or from a finance background and are into product. So there are certain skills you take for granted in India, that okay, this person is going to be great at math. That's not necessarily the case, but there is another different kind of skill set that this person is able to see something in a very creative manner. So those two things, the sort of the process orientation and the type of people and opinions that you have. And Singapore is, very diverse. So I really enjoyed working with people of different cultures. My boss was Chinese. The colleagues I were working, they were Indonesian, they were Vietnamese, spoke a different language. My development team at that time was based in Beijing. So it was a very different experience. And you had to take care to understand
Yeah.
where they're coming from. So I would say, yeah, a bit more challenging, but also I found it to be a lot more fun.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of fun. So since we're talking about leadership, right? So I think in different cultures, people have different expectations for leadership. Since we are working with people from multiple countries and a lot of different backgrounds, how do you bring the leadership to the team as a product manager?
I think this is something that I did understand early and I was prepared for. So the first thing that I did, in fact, when I got my role at Grab, was actually I ordered a book about Southeast Asia, the history
Okay.
and culture of Southeast Asia. And the reason I wanted to do that was because a lot of times when people interact with you, the things they say or the way they perceive what you're saying is really dependent on how they've grown up, what they have seen their family do, their parents do. So I wanted to make sure that I'm good at that. By nature, I'm someone who mixes very well with people. So I don't really have food restrictions. I don't have prejudices about anyone, any culture. I like to date people from all cultures. So because of that, I think I just became local, a lot more local, faster.
Mm, mm,
And so then there are once you have understood that, there are some things in leading teams that always remains the same. Like,
mm,
I don't think there's any culture in the world where people will say, I don't want you to give me some freedom,
mm,
or I don't want you to respect my opinion. So these things stay the same, right? Some things are different. Like in the Indian culture, we are not afraid of confrontation.
mm,
So if I don't like what he said, if I don't like what my boss said, I'll just say, okay, I didn't like what he said, or I think you were wrong. Not everybody, but I think at least in most of the good companies,
mm,
that is not the case. For example, in Indonesian culture,
mm,
or even in I notice even in Chinese culture, we don't like directly confront people with authority. So you have to understand that, because if I directly confront an Indonesian colleague or a Chinese colleague in front of many people, they're going to feel very bad. Yeah, it's just something you learn, and but you have to constantly apply. And I think you can only apply if you truly actually respect other cultures,
Mhm.
and you want to gel with it.
Cool. So as we know, there's a ever-going topic that is, the relationship between product managers and engineers. So because product managers want to get things done, and engineers are trying to understand and to make sure they're doing the things in the right way, right? So how do you deal with these conflicts and or discussions?
There's something I often tell people. Look, when you're in a tech company, imagine a project is like a movie. So as a product manager, you can be like the writer or director of the movie, but the star of the movie is the engineer, right? If it's a tech company. And because of that, the bigger the star, the more attitude, more freedom. I mean, bigger the movie, bigger the star, right? And I think as a PM, you need to understand that. So you cannot even make the mistake of thinking, okay, these people will do everything I ask them to do, regardless of anything. So uh, what what I've noticed is that most people will do something if they believe in what they are doing. Most people want to see an impact from what they're doing. They don't want to do stupid work, and they want to feel that you know what you're talking about. And I've seen a lot of junior PMs sometimes struggle with that, that they will go into a room and a senior engineer will just, dismiss them. Like, I, what spec is this, right? I don't understand what you're talking about because they have not done their due diligence.
Mm.
So because of that, they were not able to get respect of the team that, okay, yeah, I think this person knows this is the problem, this is how to solve it, and he is also taking our opinion, right? So with engineers, it's not, you cannot just go give them things. Maybe it works in very small companies or maybe with very average engineers, but it should not work, especially if you're working with good engineers. So you actually need to also make them feel that they have a role to play in the product development process.
Mm.
You are considering their opinions and what is feasible, is there a better solution, you're open to suggestions, open to feedback. If you can demonstrate that, you know what you're talking about, but you're respectful and you can take feedback and improve, then I've seen most teams automatically work for you. They want such people, and then they will put in the effort. But once they put in the efforts, just to make, also you also need to make sure, because you're like a de facto leader of the team, that they don't report to you, but you're still telling everybody what to do. So you have to also make sure that their efforts get recognized, right?
Mm.
Once something ships, you let them know, oh, this is how well you did, or this was the impact, and
Mm.
that keeps them happy.
Yeah, I really like the analogy of making a movie, right? Product managers as directors, setting up the stage, writing the story, and engineers as the stars, playing the role. So, what are some of the key skills you think as a product manager, especially the junior ones, they could learn to guide the skills or the mindset you just talked about?
So I mean that varies as you go from junior to senior, but
Mhm.
I'll say there are probably uh, three main skills that I look for. One is you are able to see the bigger picture and you're able to break that down into smaller achievable goals. That's important, actually, not just for product managers, that's also important for entrepreneurs. It's important for business strategists, but you know where you need to get, and you can say, okay, first step here, second step there.
Mhm.
So to break problems down. Second, what I see is you really need to have a good customer obsession,
Mhm.
uh, and know that you don't have all the answers, especially when you work for customers who are not like you. And that's what I face here every day. Like, I'm working for a customer who might be in a middle class household in Vietnam. That person is not like me. So I, but I need to care enough to understand who the customers are, what they want, what are their motivations, and know that I don't know everything. So I need to go out and ask that,
Mhm.
right? The third thing that I think product managers need is a very strong communication skills,
Mhm.
because so that once they have understood the problem, once they know what to do, they're able to sell that idea to the team that has to build it and to different stakeholders in the company who will take decisions on it, right? I think These three, there are also other factors, like you need to have good analytical skills, right? But and especially in early stages, that helps. I think communication, the importance of communication increases a lot more as you become more senior in product. Before that, it's more about your problem solving, about your customer obsession, your analytical skills. They help you a lot more.
Yeah, I really like these suggestions. I think those are really, really useful and very concrete. Just want to dive deeper in the first one you mentioned, the ability to see the big picture and break down them into tasks. That seems to me there is the hardest one to build. So basically, it requires a person that sees everything, right? So sees the long term and also planning backwards to break down to tasks. How did you do that?
Okay, so the reason I mentioned that skill, as you mentioned, that's the toughest one, and that is also what separates people who work on features versus people who work on product strategy, right? Who can become senior product leaders. I think that's it's a skill that can be imbibed if you understand one thing. Like if you're somebody who questions everything, and if you're someone who does not start without understanding the reasons why you're doing something, starting now, you see, this has nothing to do with product. This just has something to do with how you are in life. Do you just start things without a goal in mind? Right? Then that could be anything. I don't think like it's something that comes very naturally, but one thing that people can put a habit for is every time they are being asked to do something, they ask, okay, what is the reason for this? What is the end goal? What is the objective of what we're doing? And if they can start that early on, right from when they are in high school, right, or they're in university, whether it's their teachers or their boss, they will be able to evaluate how their boss broke down a big problem into smaller ones, and then they will be able to replicate that. Or they can go one step ahead and suggest an alternative solution. It's the same thing. Like when I talk to an engineer, if I tell them make this change, they actually want to know what is the objective, because then they can suggest another change, especially if it's a technical product. I think it's something you just have to practice in everything you do in life. Try to find out reason for something. Ask questions to your leadership also, or listen to what they're saying in town halls, and then you'll be able to do it. I suggest people, there's a framework called, like, you can use metric trees. For example, let's say you're in a stable e-commerce company. That's the company's goal is they want more revenue, but a product manager might think that their goal is conversion, or their goal is time spent on app. If they can actually understand that, okay, why conversion is important, because it leads to something, and but there are other factors like ticket size of something, a product, that eventually lead to revenue. Then they'll understand, okay, my goal is revenue, but in this project my target metric is conversion. So hence, first I will improve conversion, then I will go about improving maybe something else, and then something else, to finally hit the big picture.
Yeah.
So just but requires practice.
So I also heard the saying, the quality of your life is largely decided by the quality of the questions you are asking yourself and asking, people in your environment. I think that makes a lot of sense. What are some of the questions you are asking yourself recently?
Okay, that is a difficult question. I have started asking myself a lot more. Okay, two things I've started to look into. One is I have started questioning how and why I react to situations. For example, if something made me angry or disappointed, I try to ask myself, why did that happen? And I'm hoping to come to conclusion that it was not worth getting angry, so I need to forget it. Second thing that I've been asking is, uh, where do I want to be, say 10 years from now, and are my actions today in line with that? If they're not, then I figure out some ways to change that. But yeah, probably these two.
Cool. Have you got any answers for yourself?
Yeah. I've learned some answers. So I'm making some changes in life as we speak.
Cool. That's really cool. I think we talked a lot about the product management and the areas and the things you're interested in. Do you have anyone in your mind that you think are the best product managers in our time?
Best
or in the history?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, this is a fairly common answer, but I think Steve Jobs was a great product manager. Steve Jobs he understood people very well and what people value, right? He knew, as I said, I moved my team for a MacBook. He knew what people want. What people say and what they actually want can be very different. And I thought he was good at product. I see a similar pattern happening with how people love their Tesla cars now, and how this particular person also knows exactly what people like, that the car has to be a little bit sexy and so on. And then I've met some good PMs in general, in the industry or something. But I think Jobs and Musk, these two would be like right on top as PMs if they were PMs in a company. But they would be terrible at communication though.
Why is that?
but they would be very good PMs.
Yeah, that's right. With that, thank you very much, Vaibhav, for joining us today, and you share a lot of good experience and ideas and suggestions with us. Looking forward to meeting with you again at this show.
All right. Thanks, Racha. And yes, I hope there was something useful for your audience.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
All right. See ya.
Right. See ya.
Bye.